Good evening. Good evening. Welcome back to another episode of Business Talks. I am your host, Chawanne Burns. We have some things I want to discuss today. First, we are going to talk about Takia Young. This young lady was at Kroger's. Apparently, they claim allegedly shoplifting, and the police tried to stop her, and subsequently, tragically, sh- uh, she ended up getting killed by police. Okay, so we're going to discuss that, what the media is saying, what everyone is saying about this, and I have my take on it, and I will give you my own personal opinion about this whole situation. Next, after that, we are going to talk about um, Mayor Brandon Johnson. Mayor Brandon Johnson, he's been getting it from all sides this week. I wasn't online this week because I was on my family vacation, but I'm back. And if you follow me on YouTube, you would have seen my post. Brandon Johnson, instead of holding the criminals to um, having accountability for the criminals, he's trying to have accountability or hold the car manufacturers. He's trying to get them or sue them because of people are stealing the cars in Chicago, which is totally ludicrous. It's a bold move by him. He's been getting a lot of backlash from this move. Also, immigration is running rampant in Chicago. I have a few things I want to share with you about immigration in Chicago. And it's out of control. Crime is out of control, and immigration is out of control. So, we're going to talk about that today. So, our first story for the hour, and there's some other minor things that I want to talk about, but we're going to get to Takia Young. Now, Takia Young, if you see this on my screen, she is was a 20-year-old, 21-year-old lady. They said she went into Kroger's in Blendon Township. This is just out of Columbus, Ohio, I believe. Um, and she tried to, well, apparently they claimed that she stole some alcohol. And while she was getting in her car, the police was already there. They were trying to help another citizen out because they got locked out of their car. And the police released the body cam footage. But before they released the body cam footage to the whole incident, her family spoke out. Okay, so this is a 20-year-old lady, went into Kroger's. She came out of Kroger's. They the I guess the staff followed her and said, "Hey, she's stealing something." So instead of, they stop what they're doing, helping this other individual out, and they went to her car and tried to get her to get out the car. They asked her to step out the car for about 10 or 11 times. She did not do that. Um, and so she, instead of stepping out the car, she put the car in drive and accelerated, and the officer was in front of one officer was in front of the vehicle, the other side was on the driver's side, and the officer that she ran over, he actually shot her. Now, this is what I saw on the video cam, but I'm going to show you the video cam and you tell me what you think. Maybe I'm totally, wrong about it, but he was ran over and he shot her. And I know from, even in Michigan, a car is used or is considered deadly force. So if you try to run somebody over with a vehicle, And if they have a weapon in their hand, there is self-defense. They can't use the weapon in their hand. Okay, so that's just a rundown about this whole incident. And just a little bit about Takia. She has 2 kids and she was pregnant, and the baby did not survive. Okay, so we're saying that justice for Takia Young, but we're not holding Takia Young accountable for her actions. Um, this is her family and her family's lawyer speaking out on the whole incident.
Was killed in a shooting involving Blendon Township police just 5 days ago. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Andrew Kinsey.
And I'm Yolanda Harris. The Blendon Township Police Department says it plans to release body cam footage on Friday, but the family says they want to see it now.
10 TV's Kiana Dicers joins us live tonight with more on their request. Kiana.
Well, Andrew, Yolanda, we're now learning a little bit more about who Takia Young was. Her family calls her the life of the party. She has 2 young sons, and we now know that she was pregnant with a little baby girl. But her family now is demanding transparency and accountability, saying that an alleged crime shouldn't be a death sentence.
Now August is going to be a grieving month, for a while, because she shouldn't be gone.
In tears, Takia Young's grandmother recalls the day she was shot and killed.
It just was tragic, and it shouldn't have never, ever, ever happened.
It happened last Thursday. A Blendon Township police officer shot and killed Young in a Kroger parking lot after she was accused of stealing alcohol. Nearly a week later, her family joined their attorney, Sean Walton, demanding answers.
There are many questions that are unanswered. They're unanswered partially because we don't know the identity of this officer. We don't know his previous history. We don't know if any other citizens had interactions with this officer that could provide any kind of perspective on how we got here today.
Walton is calling for body camera footage to be released immediately.
It's important to point out the gap in time between Takia's killing and the release of the body camera footage. That footage can be released whenever they're ready. There should be an urgency to releasing that footage, and we don't quite understand the delay.
The family describes Young as the family party girl and a prankster.
She was family-oriented. She was like a fireball.
And they're calling on Blendon Township Police to take swift action and release the video of her death.
But the family is suffering and they are in pain while that delay is taking place.
And Blendon Township plans to show the family the video on Friday. After that, it'll be available to the public. Reporting live in Blendon Township, Kiana Dicers, 10 TV News.
Kiana, thank you.
And let me tell you guys, from my experience or from just knowing of these type of incidents happening, they never released the body cam. They just started releasing body cam footage since the whole BLM incident. So we can't say, oh, why are they holding the body cam? And they just released it. This was last Thursday. I don't know. This news report came out 2 days ago. Okay, so you're saying that they should have released it right away? No, that's not realistic. They're not going to release the officer's name. That's not realistic. My brother was killed in 2019 from an off-duty cop. They didn't have a body cam, but we had to get injunction for them to even release the name of the cop that killed him. And he was off duty. So what are they saying here? We have to be realistic. And the lawyer, Takia, I was calling her Takia, Takia's lawyer, family lawyer, he mentioned they didn't know the identity of the officer. You're not going to know that until some type of civil suit. If they go to court or something like that, you will never know that until, civil suit or some type of litigation comes about. And the body cam footage, they've just released the body cam footage. I'm going to show you guys that in a few minutes, but You have to be realistic in these types of things. Okay, let's be realistic. Now, okay, they say she's a party girl. Okay, so she's a party girl. I say her parents failed her. She shouldn't have died because of stealing. And that's not why she died. She died because she didn't obey the commands of the officer. That's exactly why she passed away. Why the officer killed her. You didn't obey the commands of the officer. You tried to run them over with your car. They didn't know you was pregnant. But still, should he get ran over by a person because you're pregnant? I mean, you guys might be mad at what I'm saying, but we got to talk about accountability. Takia made those choices in her life. She was working on her third baby and she's only 21 years old. So who failed her? Her mom and her dad did. For some reason, she thought she was able to get away with these types of things. And now they released the footage. They got the release footage. And I'm going to show you the footage. And you just tell me what you think. And then, after we watch the footage, the police chief, he did a press conference not too long ago, about an hour ago. And I have that we're going to view. Now, this is from Forbes breaking news. And reason why I like this footage, because they have an expert really explaining what happened in the video. So I'm going to show you this footage. And warning, it's kind of graphic. They don't really show any blood or anything, but it's, it's heartbreaking. And, you don't want to see anybody pass away. And they blur it out, but it's kind of sad. Okay, so I'm just warning you guys
from this brief encounter. While we have the benefit of slow. I'm Russ Martin, former Delaware County Sheriff and Chief of Police for the City of Delaware. I worked in law enforcement for more than 40 years before recently retiring. I have no connection to the Blendon Township Police Department, but they asked me to provide and review some context that might be helpful to the general public about the body-worn camera video from the tragic officer-involved shooting that recently happened. I want to be clear. I won't be making any conclusions about whether what the officer did was right or wrong. That's the job of other agencies.
He's not going to make a conclusion of whether the officers, whether their actions was right or wrong, but he's going to correlate to the law, Ohio state law, and what they're trained in Ohio's police force. And I think it's nationwide. I don't think any other police would have acted any differently. Maybe, I'm not for sure. So, but he's going to reference Ohio state law. So just let you guys know that. And you make your own conclusion about what he referenced.
I'll simply offer analysis similar to what any investigator might look at when reviewing body-worn camera video of a use of force incident. Let's take a look at the video. Police Officer 1 was already in the front of the Kroger parking lot after a citizen called and asked for help after locking herself out of her car. This is a common call for police. We can see that he's using tools police carry in their car to try to open the locked car door. Police Officer 2, who had just finished with a nearby car accident, is on the scene and also tries to help unlock the citizen's car. As officer number 2 is working, a Kroger employee approaches him from behind and points to a woman getting into her car. The Kroger employee tells officer 2 that the woman getting into the black Lexus has just stolen things from the store. Police officers routinely may be focused on one task in a public setting, then, when abruptly interrupted, must then redirect focus to a more pressing matter. Officer number 2 quickly approaches the Lexus and attempts to talk to the suspect. He repeatedly tells her to stop and get out of the running car. It's well within the legal authority of police to temporarily stop and detain anyone believed to be part of a potential crime. Officer 1 appears to notice what his colleague is doing and walks over to assist. As Officer 2 continues to loudly tell the driver to get out of the car, Officer 1 walks past him briskly and moves around to the front of the car. Police officers are generally at greater risk either directly in front of or behind a car for obvious reasons. Drivers can drive forward or backward into the officers when they're in that most vulnerable position. Generally, police training teaches that when 2 officers have approached a car on foot or intend to interview a suspect on the street, they will take a position that gives them the best advantage for observing what the suspect is doing. In police parlance, this is simply referred to as contact and cover. One officer is attempting to contact the person to be interviewed, while the assisting officer is providing cover or oversight of the scene. Officers are trained that one of the most dangerous encounters they face on the job involves a driver seated in a car. It's dangerous because there are many places in a car where a weapon can be hidden and the driver's hands are often out of view. While this suspect didn't have a weapon, the officers didn't know that at the time. 19 seconds into the encounter, the suspect rolls her window down a few inches and asks why she's being stopped. Officer 2 tells her that a Kroger employee has accused her of stealing. Citizens can ask why they are being detained or ordered to comply, and, in most cases, when there's time and no urgent circumstances, the officer should provide an answer, as Officer 2 does. Ohio law requires everyone to comply with the lawful order of a police officer. Although she's been ordered to get out of the running car many times by now, the driver starts to turn the steering wheel to the right as Officer 1 is directly in front of the car, in a clearly vulnerable position. Officer number 1 draws his firearm and again loudly orders the woman to stop the car. Police officers are trained to draw their firearms when threatened with deadly force, which can be from a gun, a knife, or a vehicle. In the next second, the driver steps on the gas and the car moves forward. When you look at side-by-side footage from both officers' body cameras, you can see that the suspect's car pushes Officer 1 backwards several feet. It's clear from the video that the car makes contact with the officer. In the next second, you can see that both of Officer 1's feet are off the ground. At this moment, Officer 1 fires a single shot through the windshield. Officer 1 is then able to slide off the hood of the moving car as it rolls towards the building. Officers run to keep up with the moving car, and from the video, it doesn't appear that the officers would have any way of knowing whether the driver is in control of the car. When the car stops, they act quickly to get the driver out of the car, which is what they are often trained to do. I was asked only to make observations of what I saw from the officer's body-worn camera video from this brief encounter. While we have the benefit of slow motion after the fact, it's important to remember that police officers have to make these difficult decisions in a split second, often in the middle of a highly stressful and very dangerous situation.
Okay, so I timed it. It was like 10 or 12 seconds from the time that they were telling her to get out the car, till she hit the gas. And on this body footage or this review of the footage, they slowed the incident down. Okay, so that's why I was like, oh, it looks like she wasn't even going that fast. Well, it's in slow motion. So, I mean, you guys tell me what you really think about this. I do have another video where it actually shows the body cam footage. And like I said, it's not fun to watch because it's sad.
7 back in service, 1828.
Get out of the car. Then get out. No, then get out.
Get out of the car.
Get out of the car.
Get out of the car.
Get out of the car!
So you see where he shot her. He shot directly at her.
Car! Stop! Stop! Car!
We're going to have a 34 on the customer now. He's going to be at.
And of course,
Did you know that
they're not going to show her laying there. So they took her to the hospital and she was pronounced dead, and her baby did not survive either. Okay. So that was the incident, you know. That's very heartbreaking that it came to that. That's why you might not like the police, but you can't run them over. You know, that's something that you can't do. Now, this is the statement. Well, before we get to that, now you got everybody want justice for Takia. You know, everybody wants justice for Takia. Everybody's putting their own twist on the story instead of knowing really what happened. And like this person, I don't know what her name is. Oh, Abolition for Life. So, you know, Black Power, all that Black Lives Matter type movement. Of course, they're going to latch on to it and they're going to protest. And this is what she's saying that happened. She wasn't even there. Apparently, she didn't read the news report, but she's saying this, and she got 191 loves. I don't know how many people actually watched the video, but this is what's going around.
Okay, y'all, we need to talk about Takia Young. Trigger warning, this is going to be about police brutality. Takia Young is a 21-year-old Black woman that was living in Columbus, Ohio. She was shopping at a local Kroger near her house. The pigs, being who they are, were already on site.
See, this is where the narrative gets wrong. No, she wasn't shopping, she was shoplifting. And then you're calling the cops pigs. Okay, you don't like the cops, but why are you spreading misinformation? She was shoplifting. And that's why they alerted the police. And they were on scene, but they was helping somebody else.
On site, harassing other people and looking.
They wasn't harassing other people. They were actually opening up somebody's car door. As you could see there, we saw the body cam footage. The guy was trying to help some other citizen open up their door. This is why we need to stop jumping on this racist police brutality bandwagon. We need to stop doing it without knowing all the factual information.
Into someone's vehicle that was parked mysteriously or something. For whatever reason, one of the Kroger employees believed that Takia might have stolen some food, so they went to the police that were already in the parking lot and alerted them that that might have happened. I get that the police were already on site, but there's no reason why that Kroger employee couldn't have just stopped Takia and said, hey, we believe you may have taken some items and you didn't pay for them. Would you mind?
No. If if I'm an employee, let's be realistic about this. If I am an employee of whatever establishment and I see the police officer there and I said, hey, that lady, this guy is here for serve and protect. Why would I put myself? The police officer's right there. Instead of me tussling with the girl, oh, can you get her? And she might obey his command more than mine, right? That's because they're more of an authority figure. So why would you do this? So I don't understand, why would a person think, oh, I'm just going to handle it myself, and they see police right there? No, they're not going to do that. They're going to call the police. They're going to say, oh, there's the police right there. Can you stop her? Because she stole something.
And, like putting the items back or coming back inside and us trying to like work on paying for them.
Does this sound, let's rewind that. I know I stopped it in the middle of it, but we're talking about a grown woman now. Takia might have been young, but she's a grown woman. Listen to what she said. Oh, the person stole it. Let's work on paying this. These are not children. Children, you do that. You do that for kids. Oh, I'm going to teach you a lesson. You can't steal from the store. So either I'm going to call your mom or your dad. They're going to have to pay for the items, or you're going to have to put those items. That's how you do children, to give them verbal warning, to let them know stealing is unacceptable.
Just stopped Takia and said, hey, we believe you may have taken some items and you didn't pay for them. Would you mind, like putting the items back or coming back inside and us trying to like work on paying for them? Instead of alerting.
Would you mind? I'm the only one who would think this is just totally ludicrous. Oh, hi, we think you stole some items. Let's work it out. Do you mind putting them back? She stole some alcohol. And I'm not trying to diminish. This is a horrific incident. I'm not trying to say, oh, she deserved to die. No one deserves to die for stealing. But hey, she didn't obey the commands of an officer. She tried to run an officer over with her car. That's why she lost her life. She didn't lose her life for stealing stuff. She lost her life because she didn't obey the commands of the officer, and she tried to use her vehicle as a weapon. I just want you guys to separate that too. She didn't get killed for stealing stuff. She got killed for using her car as a deadly weapon. And this nut job is saying, oh, that's what we should be doing for everyone that comes in the store to steal. Hey, do you mind paying? I think you might have stole some stuff. Do you mind coming in and pay for some stuff? Pay for it, or putting them back on the shelf? No, that's why I stole it. I'm not a nice person. That's why I'm stealing. I'm stealing because, number one, I don't want to pay for it, and I can't afford it. No, I'm not going to be nice about it.
The police, which we know is very trigger happy when it comes to Black people everywhere, but especially in Columbus, Ohio. And that's what actually happened. Police ended up killing this 21-year-old Black woman who was pregnant. This is the GoFundMe to help her family fight and hold police accountable for her death. Here's more information as well.
We are also getting a first look at the woman who was shot and killed by police last night. This is Takia Young, who was shot and killed at a Kroger in Blendon Township last night. The Franklin County coroner identifying her earlier today.
That shooting happened around 6:30 last night at the Kroger on Sunbury Road. And NBC4's Jamie Ostroff joins us now with the latest details on what happened there, Jamie.
Yeah, there are still so many questions that we have today, and we are learning now from the Franklin County coroner that Takia Young was pregnant when she was shot and killed by law enforcement. She was 21 years old. And since that shooting yesterday evening, we have been asking law enforcement what led to it, whether Young had a weapon, and how many officers fired shots. We are not getting any of those answers at this point. The Blendon Township Police Department posts a summary of the previous day's police activity every morning on its Facebook page. And today, there was no post. Time the Bureau of Criminal Investigation has taken the lead in this investigation, as is often the case when law enforcement shoots someone in Ohio. And of course, we will share any new information with you.
There's a lot of.
Okay, so you want even the news media. I know they wanted it's a story. They didn't have much information. They just reported it, but you're trying to make Takia as if she was so innocent, like she wasn't accountable for what we shouldn't hold her accountable for what she did. We're trying to hold the police accountable, but what about her actions? And then another damn thing, you guys with this GoFundMe stuff. Okay, this girl was driving a Lexus. Where's sell that car so you could pay for her funeral? Then she got 2 kids. Why are you in the store stealing liquor and you already got 2 kids? Why are you taking liquor anyway? You're pregnant. Why aren't us, these black folks, us as black folks, answering these questions? 21-year-old girl already got 2 kids and got a baby on the way, but you're in the store stealing liquor. Am I the only one? Is something wrong with that picture? But am I the only one? And then when you get on Facebook and Instagram, we got all these messages. Defenseless 21-year-old pregnant woman leaving a Kroger grocery store in Blendon Township, Ohio, with 2 other children at home was publicly executed by the police on Thursday. She was accused by employees to nearby police of stealing liquor. They launched, now the police did what they're was supposed to do. They put the guy on administrative leave, the 2 officers on administrative leave. They're trying to get the police officer's name, but why would you want that name? Why would you? This was a justified thing. Okay? But you get, of course, all these black folks trying to make a martyr out of Takia Young, and she shouldn't be. It shouldn't be that way. We need to start holding people accountable for their actions. Excuse me. Cannon, you need to cut it out. We need to start holding people accountable for their actions. Accountability. Instead of saying, oh, a black woman was killed or a black person was killed by the police again. Police brutality. No, how about we need to be accountable for our actions? There's laws and stuff in place. If she didn't steal nothing, she could have easily got out the car. Hey, look in my bag. I didn't steal nothing. That's a lawsuit within this. Oh, you publicly embarrassed me. How many times have we heard someone get stopped by the police in the store, being accused of stealing, and they didn't steal nothing, and that was a lawsuit? That ain't nothing new. But we don't want to hold us accountable for none of our actions. We want to play victim. And it's really ridiculous. When are we going to stop that? This is the police chief.
Last week's critical incident in Blendon Township that was just released. It was hard to watch, right? There's no getting around that. It is very, very difficult to watch. This is particularly true knowing that it ended with the loss of 2 lives. Now, young children will grow up without their mother. Those facts are indisputable and they are heartbreaking. However, we cannot look at just the end result of this incident. We must look at the entire incident. Regardless of the emotions, all facts must be considered. Those facts include the actions Ms. Young took leading to this incident and should not be ignored. The fact is, Ms. Young was not shot for stealing alcohol. She was shot because following an aggravated robbery, she tried to run down a fellow human being. The fact is, there was previously an arrest for Ms. Young for a violation of protection order. Now, we'll never know for sure if her previous warrant, combined with her previous charges of theft and fleeing from the police, may have contributed to her refusal to get out of her Lexus and speak with the officer. The fact is, Ms. Young ignored repeated lawful orders to get out of the car. She was told more than 10 times to get out of the car. The fact is, had she simply complied with the police officer's instructions and get out of the car, she may have been arrested, maybe have done a day or 2 at most in jail. Instead, Ms. Young chose to accelerate her vehicle directly into the path of an officer, striking him and lifting him off the ground. The fact is, a car is a deadly weapon, can be used as a deadly weapon. We've had 3 officers struck and seriously injured by vehicles already this year. Now, I understand much of the public might be wondering, why even bother with allegations of shoplifting? There's no real punishment for here anyway in Franklin County, so why shouldn't the officer just let her go? Officers have a legal duty to act. They have a legal duty to act when they are alerted to a crime. But what happens when they allow her to flee? They don't act. And instead of hit an officer, she hits someone in that parking lot. How about if she hits a child? We just had a situation in Columbus a few weeks ago where the officers chose not to pursue a stolen car due to the risk it posed to the public. That individual still drove through a grassy picnic area, not even a street or a parking lot, struck and killed a 4-year-old child. This incident occurred in a very busy parking lot at peak hours with multiple civilians throughout the parking lot. Police work is dangerous, and split-second decisions must be made. Officer makes a correct decision, he's hailed a hero. He makes the wrong decision, he's in prison or he's dead. Contrary to what some people think, the Fraternal Order of Police, Capital City Lodge 9, we do not represent our members in criminal investigations. While we do have a legal obligation under state law to represent our members in administrative investigations and contractual issues, this does not extend to criminal investigations, which this case is. Our members pay for legal protection through a national insurance plan that determines coverage like any other insurance plans, and the Fraternal Order of Police does not play any role in that process or coverage determinations. This incident was tragic for everyone involved. Ms. Young's family, the officers involved, and their families. Now we must be patient. We have to wait for the investigation to be completed. Police officers have the same constitutional rights as any other citizen. They also have tremendous power and tremendous responsibility. With that responsibility and power comes accountability to those we're sworn to serve. However, police officers cannot be the only ones held accountable for their actions. Individuals reported for breaking the law must also be held accountable for their actions. The Columbus branch of the NAACP said it best last week in a 10 TV interview. When a police officer gives you a command, please follow the command. I'm going to repeat that. When an officer gives you a command, please follow that command. I'm begging you, do not put our officers in a position where they have to use deadly force. On behalf of the 4,500 dedicated men and women of Capital City Lodge 9, our thoughts and prayers go out to all those families, that community impacted by this event.
Like I said, it's tragic. It's tragic that this ended this way. But when are we going to say, okay, Takia is responsible for her actions? It's just not one-sided. This was not a one-sided event. She wasn't strolling through a park and was an innocent bystander. No, she caused this stuff to happen to her. As painful as it sounds, she caused this. And we might say, she was young and she was getting her life together. She was a mother. And people are mad about it. People are mad. Let me show you Twitter, what Twitter is saying. These MFers are literally calling the executioners crime victims. But you're calling the person that tried to ran somebody over. Why are you calling them an ex? No, it's literally, if you was a citizen, it would be self-defense. If somebody tried to run you over with the car and you had a gun and you shot them, that's called self-defense. Why is it different for a police officer? Somebody put on their tweet, I don't know who this is. It says, make no mistake, they still out here killing us and our unborn babies. No, the police officer is not killing your unborn babies, dear. This is a misquote. The likelihood for you to get killed by a police officer is 1,000,000 to 1. Abortion is killing your unborn babies. Even though she decided to have all her kids, but that's not killing our babies. And then if they're Black babies between the ages of 13 and 33, we killing each other. Another Black man will kill that Black baby. Let's call a spade a spade. I don't know if you guys took a probability or statistic class, but the probability of you getting killed by a police officer is so slim, or being killed by white supremacists, so-called white supremacy. You might as well, you have more chances of winning a lottery than getting killed by a police officer. This is not the 1940s. So this one guy said, let me get this right. Black lady shoplifts and gets shot to death. White lady does the exact same thing and live to talk about it. We're not safe here. No, the white lady probably obeyed the command of the officer. And let's say, okay, you're absolutely right. If we're saying police are dangerous, 10 times more dangerous or insensitive to Black people, wouldn't you want to more obey the law of the land? Why would you want to go into the criminal justice system if we're saying it's not made for us? It's made to entrap us. I just don't understand that. And now they putting pictures up of the guys that was doing their job. It like I said, this is sad, but let's take ownership of what she did wrong. They said this is Divine Goddess is on here. We heard from Divine Goddess before. She's literally crazy. This is absolutely pathetic and deplorable.
Thursday because she was accused of stealing alcohol from a grocery store. Let's get into it. She was pronounced deceased shortly before 7:45 p.m. on Thursday. Now, the chief of police did not identify her nor disclose the fact that she was pregnant. It was only after the Franklin County Coroner's Office identified her as 21-year-old Takia Young and that she was 6 months pregnant that this information was revealed. They say the police were initially there at the Kroger trying to help someone who was locked out of their vehicle.
And asking law enforcement what led to it, whether Young had a weapon, and how many officers fired shots. We are not getting any of those answers at this point. The Blendon Township Police Department posts a summary of the previous day's police activity every morning on its Facebook page, and today there was no post.
So the interesting thing is they first didn't say anything about what happened, didn't want to give any details, and in fact, they didn't post anything on their social media as they normally would. So I find that very interesting, but now here's what they have to say. So now they're basically saying that she tried to speed towards one of the officers, and so the officer was left with no choice but to open fire. Please pay attention.
Blendon Township police officers were assisting a driver locked out of her car in the Kroger parking lot on Sunbury Road. As the officers were helping, a Kroger employee pointed out to one of the officers that someone who had stolen bottles of alcohol from the store was, at that moment, fleeing. Store employees later reported that several suspects had been stealing items, but that the other suspects had fled in other cars. However, this particular female suspect, who had been pointed out to the officer, was in a Lexus sedan with no license plates.
Now, what?
So number one, you had a group of your friends come into the store. You got all was stealing. They left you behind because you was in the only car, another car than theirs. And they left you. Maybe you was moving too slow, but they left you. Number two, you didn't have a license plate. They could have stopped you off for that because you didn't have a license plate on your vehicle. No plates at all. Then number three, you already was violating the protection order. I don't know, but you had a warrant out for your arrest for stealing in this protection order. So maybe that's probably why she didn't want to get out the car. But so you tried to speed away, but the guy was in front of you. Does that make any sense? We're trying to make this young lady just an innocent, clean victim, and she's not. I'm sorry. She's not innocent or clean. And everybody's mad because the police officer chose his life over hers. That's basically what happened. He said, "Oh, she trying to run me over, so I gotta shoot her." Would he done that with a white person? Don't know. He could have, though. Do police officers act more restraint? They have more restraint with other race victims or race, I guess, criminals, if you want to call it, subjects. Maybe so. But he was in his legal right, though, to act the way he acted.
What the officer said could be absolutely true, but then again, it could not be true. So I would prefer to wait until the body cam footage comes out. That's when we'll get all of the details. At the end of the day, the police have not always been truthful when it comes to people of my skin tone. And also, they say the Kroger employee suspected her of having stolen alcohol, but that there were other people that ran out. So how do they know that she was involved? Maybe she was, maybe she wasn't. I just find it all very interesting because whether she was in there stealing or not, no one should lose their life because of theft. Okay, I know.
She didn't lose her life because of theft. She lost her life because she tried to use her vehicle as a deadly weapon. That's why she lost her life. You don't lose your life over stealing. You lose your life over trying to run people over with a car. That's when you lose your life.
Some people who don't like people of my skin tone, they always say it because I see it in the comments all the time. They say things like, oh, they need to be taken out. You know, they say these types of things. Even Kyle Rittenhouse, there was video footage of him saying something like that when he suspected people of my skin tone of running out of a store after having stolen things. But I just find it very interesting because they don't have that same energy and say those same things when it's their people. Please pay attention.
So I guess she's showing might be LA or San Francisco somewhere. They let everybody run out. So maybe she's showing Portland, maybe Seattle, something like that. But you know, this is not just for white people. Black people do this shit too. They just go into the store with a garbage can or a garbage bag, fill up, and leave the store. So what is she talking about? And she probably had to search around for this because mainly what you see, those smash and grabs and go in there and grab like those stealing rings, it's mostly these young minority kids doing that kind of stuff.
As you can see from the video, those are people not of my skin tone walking out of a store after stealing all that they could steal. And they don't show these images on the news because they only want to show people who look like me doing these things to paint a certain narrative that people who look like me are the ones that are the only thieves. Okay. Now
I don't believe only black people are stealing, but we do the majority of the stealing. That's why they're closing. Hey, you guys might not agree with this. Go back to, this is one of my most viewed videos when Walmart closed down in Chicago. Predominantly black neighborhood. They closed 4 Walmarts in Chicago and they was all on there crying, oh, we're going to protest. Oh, we're going to, go to each state and protest if they close our store down. Well, it's too late. You stole them out of business. It's too late for you to do that, to protest. How can you protest a business and they're out of business? Put it in the chat. How can you protest a business out of business and they out of business? they left. They don't want to be there no more because you stealing their shit. So the narrative that she's painting, she's trying to paint that we're the only ones that's stealing. I don't think we're the only ones that's stealing, but it happens majority in our community. You know, these stealing rings, it could be many different colors, but I'm pretty sure she had to scour the internet to see some white folks going in the store stealing. Now, she probably found this in California. Like I said, California, maybe Portland or something like that. She probably found that. But let's be real. You know, it's mostly in predominantly Black neighborhoods. That's why we don't have any stores. That's why, you know, larger stores, popular stores, retail stores can't go into Black neighborhoods because we stealing shit.
Ohio Bureau of Criminal Investigation will be investigating this matter. And also the two officers who have not been identified that were involved in the shooting, well, they're on administrative leave, and I'm sure they're getting paid, so clearly a vacation. Also, the 61-year-old grandmother, Nadine Young, says that her granddaughter was the mother of two boys, ages 3 and 6, and was expecting her daughter in November. And unfortunately, the unborn child did not survive. Another thing that I'm curious to know is whether or not there was actually any stolen alcohol in her vehicle, because they didn't bother to mention that. With that all being said, TikTok, this is for entertainment purposes only.
At this point, does it matter if it was alcohol in her vehicle? Does that matter? You know, if you really think about it, okay, so whatever she had, does it matter now? She took it from, oh, I'm being stopped by the cops. They want to, you know, probably look in my bag or whatever to see what's in my bag. You didn't follow those commands to trying to run somebody over to getting shot. I just don't understand. Does it matter at this point? I mean, it's really sad that she lost her life, but we need to hold people accountable of their own actions. Not just to say, oh, this was a Black lady and she got shot by the cops, police brutality. That doesn't make any sense. To me, that doesn't make any sense. This one lady says Susan Bradford. You could tell she's white girl. Black Lives Matter, LGBTQ, K-Hive, whatever that is. Biden here. Okay, so she's for all the liberal. Hashtag GoFundMe. This should be a bigger campaign. I don't care whether she shoplifted or not. She was entitled to her day in court. Innocent until proven guilty. Yeah, somebody should have told that to this lady. That's why she should have got out of the car. You're innocent till proven guilty. You know, everybody got these Ukraine flags. Suspected shoplifting. Are you effing kidding me? How could this possibly be justified shooting? This is a sheer tragedy. And everybody's going to jump on this bandwagon. Justice for this girl. Justice, justice, justice. But we're not talking about her actions, Takia's actions. Somebody told you to get, you saw it was a police officer. It wasn't a nighted street. You could clearly see it says police on their shirt. Hey, get out the vehicle. You rolled the vehicle down. They said, why am I, you asked them, why am I getting stopped for what? They tell you, they said you stole stuff. Okay, if the other girls were stealing, open up your vehicle. Why did you try to leave? I just don't understand. And everybody's saying, oh, it's disgusting. This shows there's still today, Black women are the most disrespected, dishonorable, disvalued, demeaned individuals on the face of the planet. I'm truly disgusted. No. You allow yourself to be devalued, demeaned, dishonored. It's all about how you carrying yourself as a woman. So will this end with protests? Not for sure. I don't know if they're going to be marching in the street after they showed the vehicle, the body cam. I know that there was let me go back to YouTube. There was, now they're trying to say that they want the people to get fired. Let me see if I could add, it was on CBS. I think it was on CBS where they were saying that they're trying to call the police officers to get fired. Fired for what? It was a justified shooting. They're not going to get fired. They probably get placed on administrative leave. And I hope they won't bend the knee, because right now the police officers, and not to say I really love police officers or anything like that. I think it's a thankless job. I don't think they get paid enough. And I think people are not respecting police officers in the way that they should. That's why we have just anything going on now, because people don't respect police officers anymore. If you cry racism, you could get fired if it wasn't really racism. You know, So now other police officers that's on the force, they're like reluctant to do things. I don't see it. I just want to see if I can find that article right quick before I go to my next topic. Yeah, I don't have it on here. But they do have a GoFundMe out. They raised $8,000 so far. I don't know who Michelle Franklin is, but they got it. Like I said, they got a GoFundMe out. And they raised $8,000 for the funerals and memorials. I mean, why are they going to have two funerals? The baby was still in her. So I think they would just bury them together, right? I'm not for sure how that works, but anyway, it's kind of sad. It's really sad. But we gotta start holding ourselves accountable for the shit that we do. You can't just say, "Oh, it's the police fault." No, it's she should have been obeying the commands of the police officer and not trying to run somebody over. That's just ridiculous. Okay, so now we're going to get to our next story of the hour. And this is about the mayor. The mayor's not communicating with the citizens of Chicago. Mayor Brandon Johnson, he's not communicating with the citizens of Chicago as far as immigration. This video is with the Hyde Park residents. It's a community in Chicago. They just found out they're going to house another 300 to 400 people in their area, and I guess in one of the vacant schools, and they're upset about it. And one of the aldermen was there. I guess he's over the Hyde Park district, and he said he just heard about it a few hours ago.
Tonight from a Southside community where hundreds of migrants are about to be moved.
Yeah, it's happening in Hyde Park. Takia Young has the explosive meeting tonight.
2 buses showed up in the city of Chicago today carrying migrants, and we know at least for the week there's been 4 that have arrived here. And this is not the first time that migrants will call Hyde Park home. 120 lived at the Lakeshore Hotel in January and also March. Most residents didn't know anything about it, and this is the first time they are sounding off.
I don't want them there. Take them someplace else or send them back to Venezuela. I don't care where they go. This is wrong. You got 73% of the people homeless in this city are black people. What have you done for them?
There were lots of fireworks. over the migrants moving into the Lakeshore Hotel for 6 months, where 300 can be housed. Also, the city says it's a fluid situation and it will need to revisit that timeline. Even the alderman, Desmond Yancey of the 5th Ward, says he just found out about it last week.
I found out on Wednesday, called a meeting immediately. I don't know what happened before I got here. But in the spirit of transparency, this is why we're in the room, because I felt it was important for community members to know what was going on in their neighborhood, even if the mayor's office wasn't willing to.
It was standing room only inside the promontory. Residents had a lot of questions about police patrols, the change noticed in communities where migrants currently are, and the future plans for dealing with the migrant crisis.
Plymouth Court in Van Buren, that site looks like basically a bomb went off. So I'm concerned about the sites where the migrants are.
We have shelter rules that we implement across the sites.
New arrivals must wait 150 days to apply for a work permit. Those on the front line of dealing with this crisis says part of the solution is getting migrants seeking asylum work.
Without some remedies from the federal action, whether it's funding or the ability for folks to work, we find ourselves in a hole.
And despite the overall response from residents, come this Friday, that is the earliest that migrants will start moving into the hotel. From Hyde Park, Takia Young, Fox 32, Chicago.
Where's Mayor Johnson at in all this? He wants migration. He's trying to call for federal aid, just like Mayor Eric Adams in New York. All these states they're just raising their hand up. Oh, we don't know what to do. But you said that your city was an asylum without talking to the residents of your city. And your city, your residents voted you in there. And you're not even concerned about your residents. The mayor is not even concerned about his own residents. This is the police station. One of the police stations, the 12th District Chicago Police Station. Look at this shit. No wonder they can't solve crime. They acting like a what is it called? A homeless shelter. This is the police station. You can't, say for instance, something's happened to you and you want to run in and say, help me, help me. You can't do this at this police station. You can't run in and say, help, I need help. Because this is what the hallway look like. This is immigrants just sleeping on the floor in the police station. In the lobby. And this article is talking about a migrant living in Chicago police station hospitalized after being attacked by rivals in City Park. So other rival gang members of whatever city or country that they're coming from. He was attacked and they had to send him to the hospital. It was a 20-year-old victim, threatened with a knife, beaten, and knocked unconscious by a rival migrant who lived in a nearby park. And then you're wondering why your residents are mad as hell at you. You're so focused on people that, and no offense to immigrants, we're all, literally everybody in America are immigrants. We all got here from one way or another. Unless we could say we're no longer immigrants. We were born on American soil. But look at this. These are not taxpayers. But you got to pay for it though. The taxpayers are paying for this. And they're trying to shuffle programs. Our last talked about Chicago. We revealed that they was trying to shuffle programs to pay for immigration. Community programs, whatever programs to pay for immigration. And then another problem is they got to stay there 150 days just to get a work visa. So they can't even earn their keep for 150 days. That's 6 months. I'll give it to you in a second. That's 6 months they're not going to be able to work and earn their keep. Another thing is going on in Chicago. The Fulton Market Association wants Chicago mayor to install 4,000 cameras, a security network. They're saying because of the crime. The crime in the area. The Fulton Market Association wants Brandon Johnson to install 4,000 camera security networks to help police fight crime. The proposal calls for at least 50 cameras in each of Chicago's 77 communities with additional cameras in high crime areas. And it says it's going to cost the taxpayers about $30 million. From the City Tax Increment Finance Fund. So they're tired of shopping and being targeted. You can't even go out to shop. You're gonna get targeted.
Calling for new security cameras, and they're asking for Mayor Brandon Johnson to install 4,000 cameras to help police with violence. The group wants at least 50 in each of Chicago's communities. To pay for these cameras, the group is suggesting money from neighborhood-based tax increment finance funds, or TIF districts.
Well, and I guess that's probably subsidized from the businesses or something like that.
Police have identified the suspect who opened fire on the UNC campus, killing a faculty member.
I didn't want to go to there.
And leaving students there shaken.
Mark Meredith has the latest from Chapel Hill.
We have determined that the victim and suspect.
So yeah, you have that with Chicago mayor. In the last story I want to talk about, Chicago mayor, he a big nut job, Brandon Johnson. I don't know what the hell is wrong with him. I want to show you guys this before. This is about Brandon Johnson. They was asking him about immigration. He gets mad and leave.
Leaving, unfortunately, we still have questions for him. Do you have questions for the mayor? Is that being addressed at all?
We're addressing all of it. And, you know, again, the number of families that could help grow our economy, quite frankly, that number is endless. So to have businesses and, again, the full force of government at every single level is critical in this moment. And what I've always said repeatedly that is my responsibility as mayor of the city of Chicago to bring people together, and we're doing just that.
Governor Pritzker, in 2021, you said that you passed a law saying Illinois is a welcoming state. So why aren't some of these migrants being shipped to the other 101 counties throughout the state of Illinois?
We're a welcoming state. Well, you should ask the governor of Texas. You should ask the governor of Florida why they're sending people, shipping people, many of them, frankly, without their consent, to the city of Chicago. That's where they're sending them. So that you're asking me why are they doing that? I can only tell you it's a political maneuver on their part and indicative of the partisan nature of what the other party is talking about on immigration. They just don't want to get to a solution.
Yeah. That other communities, is there a way to work with them? And the mayor's leaving, unfortunately. We still have questions for him. Do have questions for the mayor. Do you think other communities might, with your help, help take the burden off the city?
Well, they have. I think that you're aware that we've had a number of mayors in suburban areas, in exurban areas, who've actually raised their hand and helped out. You've seen that. I want to, say specifically a couple of the mayors who really have been heroes in this endeavor in welcoming them to their areas. So it's not an obligation. It is something, though, that is an indication of someone's frankly, compassion, whether they're willing to help us manage through the challenge of asylum seekers arriving, and they're arriving every week, as you know, week in and week out.
So yeah, Mayor Brandon Johnson, he didn't want to answer the questions. So he said he answered all the questions, so he didn't want to answer any more questions. So that's what you got with Mayor Brandon Johnson. He's also under fire because he's trying to blame the car manufacturers for the high crime or the high thefts with vehicles, particularly with Kia vehicles. And I don't know if you guys heard of the Kia boys. You could steal a Kia car with accessing it through, the undercarriage of the steering wheel, and you just connect a USB drive to it. Don't know how it works, but they're easy to steal. And so since they went viral, I guess they're on TikTok, the Kia boys, they went viral, and all the young kids are stealing Kia vehicles. So Mayor Brandon Johnson, he wants to blame the car manufacturers for the high theft. And how about you blame the criminals? I just don't understand that. Let me get to that story right quick. It says Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson sues car automakers as car theft
Mobs of
prices
violent
gets
teens,
worse.
to change the subject. Violent teens running rampant in Chicago, blocking traffic, looting, destroying property. The mayor, Brandon Johnson, he's downplaying the whole thing. Watch this.
We're not talking about mob act.
The city of Chicago is suing two major automakers amid and growing car theft crisis. He filed the lawsuit against the automakers Kia and Hyundai, alleging that both companies have failed to include industry standard engine immobilizers, which resulted in a steep rise in crime. It says the impact of car theft on Chicago residents can deeply destabilize, particularly for low to middle income workers who have fewer options for getting to work and taking care of their families. And he's saying it's sheer negligence. The complaint specifically accusing both companies of failing to equip the U.S. car sold between models 2011 and 2022 vital anti-theft technology, stating that both companies deceptively assured customers that these vehicles possess advanced safety features, despite knowing about its critical defect and its consequences. So a spokesperson from Hyundai responded. It says Hyundai is committed to a comprehensive actions we are undertaking to assist customers and communities affected by the persistent theft of certain vehicles not equipped with push button ignitions and engine immobilizers. Our dealers across the countries are maximizing the number of anti-theft software installation that can be performed on a daily basis, contributing to steadily increasing completion rates, which we report to the NHTSA weekly, the spokesperson said. Okay, whatever that means. So Brandon Johnson, he doesn't like to paint the young criminals as demonized criminals. We already know that. This is him talking about mob action. Remember, we discussed that riot or looting from one of the 7-Elevens in Chicago, and one of the reporters used the word mob action, and he got mad. He got mad.
Actions. I didn't say that. These large gatherings.
He's calling them large gatherings.
These large gatherings, just hold on a second, y'all. I promise you, we have time to talk. It's important that we speak of these dynamics in an appropriate way. This is not to obfuscate what is actually taking place. I mean, to refer to children as like baby Al Capones is not appropriate.
Okay.
They are baby Al Capones. To refer to children as demons and baby Al Capones. They are. They stealing cars. They looting stores. They carrying guns on them. So what are they? They baby Al Capones in the making.
Okay, Evita Duffy joins me now. Evita, let's take the big picture to start with here. Do you think that Chicago is out of control and maybe past the tipping point where a recovery is only in the distant future?
It's 100% out of control. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I think Brandon Johnson is shaping up to be worse than Lori Lightfoot. I went to school in Chicago for 4 years. My husband's originally from Chicago. We had talked about potentially living there. By the time we got married, we said, no way, we can't stay here. The city is a disaster. It's up in flames every weekend. And what's so, I think, obnoxious about that press conference is that he won't let us call it a mob attack. It was 100% a mob attack. They want us to, I don't know, ignore our own eyes. Like when we had the BLM rioting and they said it's fiery but mostly peaceful. It's just outrageous. And then before, this is not the first teen attack, right? This happens routinely in Chicago and no one does anything about it. The last time he said, we can't judge these teens because they have such a lack of opportunity. When you want to talk about the lack of opportunity, that's caused by the Democrats in Chicago who shut down the city for years during COVID, and then also wouldn't let students attend in-person learning. And there are countless students still in Chicago who are missing from the school system. So if we want to talk about the problems and why this is happening, it's all because of him. It's not because of missed opportunities and being politically correct and not calling it a mob. It's 100% on the hands of Brandon Johnson.
Tell me what Gen Z youngsters think about the political landscape, so to speak. I mean, do they care what's happening with Trump? Do they care about Biden's age? What are the issues that the Gen Z youngsters, like yourself perhaps, are looking at?
Well, they do care a lot about age. There's been a lot of talk with what happened with Mitch McConnell over the last week, with Dianne Feinstein, and with Joe Biden, and people feeling like there's not a lot of young representation in politics, feeling like it's way too old. But I will say, as a conservative Gen Zer, there's a lot of disagreement, right? They care a lot about climate change and about LGBTQ issues and things that I don't really care about. But there are a lot of things that we actually do agree on. One of them is COVID. We were completely abused during the COVID year. Gen Z had the ineffectual mask mandates, an experimental vaccine mandate. They were surveilled by their universities. They missed out on key years of their lives, and no candidate has really come out and said, I'm sorry that this happened to you. It's never going to happen again. Side, but not really even on the Republican side have I seen anybody really make an apology to Gen Zers. And then the other thing is entitlements. I think Gen Z knows that we're paying into programs that we're never going to see, and nobody's been strong enough to say, I'm going to fix these programs. I'm going to do something about it, even if it'll lose me votes. No one's done that. And then the other thing is the economy, right? I mean, we are heading into a really bleak time for Gen Zers trying to go out into the world. And so being able to buy a house, get a job, pay for your grocery bills, these are important things that aren't looking really good right now.
By the way, there are 100 colleges which still have the vaccine mandate. In other words, if the kids don't get the jab, you can't go to school. I find that ridiculous. Evita Duffy, thank you very much indeed for being with us today. We do appreciate it. Always come back soon.
Well, we could talk about that, but I think he is worse than Lori Lightfoot. His reputation will precede him. Let's see. Jean Heard, she's saying, I don't agree with his politics, but I do think the manufacturer should be sued. You don't hear of other cars being stolen so easily. This is egregious for the paycheck to paycheck consumer. Yeah, I do agree on that sentiment, but we got to look at, okay, Hyundai and Kia, they're made and sold everywhere. Are they still in these cars everywhere? I mean, are we hearing like mayor the city crime or car theft increased by 100%? I think that's what the statistics that said on his first 100 days. Let me just pull that back up. When I looked that up about a week ago, we looked at Mayor Brandon Johnson's statistics, and it says the first 100 days, his the auto theft increased by 100%. Let me see if I can find that post. Oh, no, it's not. It's not on here. It's homicides increased. Let me see if I can find that post. But like I said, yeah, they do have a responsibility. Why would I want to buy a car if they're going to steal it all the time? Why even buy that car if it's going to come up stolen? I mean, it should be some type of anti-theft mechanism on the car. But in all these other cities, are they stealing the car at the same rate as in Chicago? That's what I want to know. Okay, so this is I'm just going to share this tab with you. It says Chicago Police Department crime statistics shows that the sharp rise in car thefts from just under 9,000 in 2019 to more than 21,000 last year. Can you guys see this page? Yep. Where am I at? Okay. Motor vehicle thefts in Chicago have jumped by 139% in the last 3 years. Only 4% are solved. Okay, so yeah, it says you just need a screwdriver and a USB cord to start the car. That's with those Hyundais. Now, okay, I believe that's a glitch in the system if somebody, and you know what? These criminals are smart. Like, who thought of that? Oh, all you need is a screwdriver and a, a screwdriver and a USB cord. It says in the last 3 years, it spiked 139%, and 2023 numbers are on track to be even higher. And remember, I told you it was this TikTok challenge on how to steal Kias and Hyundais. That was the biggest thing. And kids are like, we got nothing to do. Let's steal cars. So when they were out the 2 years of COVID, they got bored and had nothing to do besides stealing cars. So in only 4% of the car thefts are solved. So, I mean, what can you do about that? You could sue the car makers, but I mean, are they going to allow them to sue the car makers? Are you going to put the money back into these people pockets? Is this like a class action lawsuit? Are you trying to get your money compensated back to the police workforce, but you didn't even solve the crime? So it's not, you don't even solve the crime. So why are you suing them? Or are you suing them on the behalf of your residents, and you're going to give those money back to the people that were victims of the crime? That's another question I have to ask, because really, does it really make sense? The Chicago is suing the car makers because of the high crime theft, but after are you suing them to make them put anti-theft things on the cars? Or are you going to reimburse them for the cars that they lost? Are you reimbursing the insurance company? What's going to happen? Or is this just like a segue into a class action lawsuit? Anyway, that's just a question I'm thinking out loud. I don't know where he's going with this, but you still got to hold the criminals responsible for their actions. You're not holding the criminals responsible, especially if you're only prosecuting them or solving the crime at a 4% rate. That's just my own personal opinion.
Be careful where you park your car. It might not be there when you come back. That's because Chicago, like much of the nation, has seen an astronomical rise in car thefts since 2020, with no let-up in sight. And Chicago police have linked several recent robbery sprees to stolen vehicles. This comes as car makers Kia and Hyundai face scrutiny for failing to provide adequate security systems for their cars. We set out to find what's accelerating this citywide crisis.
So first of all, you can see that the window is pretty much broken out with the glass right there. There's probably some inside the vehicle on the floor or the seat.
Chicagoan Matt Nillette runs the Chicago Stolen Car Directory, a volunteer effort to locate stolen vehicles and alert owners on the group's Facebook page. He found this stolen Hyundai in an alley near the intersection of North Avenue and Cicero. It appears that all it took was a screwdriver and a USB cord to start the car.
See the middle of the cylinder, that little notch? The little metal thing right there goes inside the USB adapter and it turns right over. I'll show this alley real quick down the street here.
Nillette says he spends several hours a week scouring alleyways, empty lots, and side streets on the west and northwest sides for stolen vehicles, and says there are certain tells.
Broken back windows, how long they've been there for. Like sometimes you'll see a car parked somewhere for over, I don't know, a month.
When he finds a vehicle that looks suspicious, he'll run the plates in the Chicago Police Department's stolen car database.
No city stickers. Stolen plates, see?
And he's fairly busy these days. CPD crime statistics show a rise in car thefts from just under 9,000 in 2019 to more than 21,000 last year. That's a 139% spike in just 3 years. And this year's numbers are on track to be even higher.
It looks most likely that those are going to be Kia and Hyundai related. Not all models, but select years and makes are vulnerable to thefts.
Ernesto Lopez is a research specialist for the Council on Criminal Justice, a national organization that studies crime trends. He says Chicago's spike mirrors a nationwide trend, which might have been sparked by a viral TikTok video.
That TikTok challenge I had to steal the Kias and Hyundais. That was the biggest thing right there. And these kids were like, we ain't got nothing to do anyway. We're out of school for COVID and all this stuff. Might as well.
But other makes and models are vulnerable too, and crime statistics show that no corner of the city is safe. Last December, Bina David, a professional singer, left her car in the Grant Park South parking garage before a music rehearsal at the Chicago Symphony Orchestra. When she came back, the car was gone.
It was gone, completely gone, and I knew exactly where I parked it.
And what was the first thing that went through your mind when you saw that?
Disbelief. I literally had my mouth agape like...
It was kind of a mess.
David documented her travails on TikTok. A month later, after claiming full reimbursement from her insurance, David got word her car was at an auto impound lot in Hammond, Indiana. She went to see what shape the car was in.
There's guns in here! Holy sh**!
It looked like a rifle, but I was told that it was a pellet gun, and I think that's what surprised me the most. And the saddest thing was children's DVDs and juice boxes that I had found in there.
These cars are used in the commission of another crime, joyriding, or even being sold.
And according to CPD statistics, most suspects get away with the initial crime. Last year, the clearance rate for solving motor vehicle thefts was a paltry 4%. Sources close to CPD say the department de-emphasizes solving these crimes to devote more resources to more serious crimes. Matt Nillette says motorists can do a few things to protect their cars. Buy an alarm, a conversion from key to push-button starter, or just get an old-fashioned club.
The club. It's the kind of protection us pussycats need.
Bina David has since replaced her vehicle and parked in the same garage and says her luck hasn't improved.
When I came back, the glove box was open and it had been ransacked through, but nothing was missing except for my homemade lunch.
Tell me what that was.
Chicken curry and a handful of cherries.
Nillette says he'll stay on the prowl until law enforcement puts more emphasis on solving these crimes.
I still got to pay bills, so basically, you know, it's not my form of income. So I wish it was.
Why do you do it then?
I don't like seeing stolen cars. People need them.
And a nonprofit called the National Insurance Crime Bureau offers this advice for those that have had their cars stolen. 1, report the theft to law enforcement on the day you discover the car is gone. Use that police report to submit a claim to your insurer to get reimbursement, and be prepared to have the make, model, license plate number, and VIN number handy. The Chicago Police Department declined our request to participate in this story.
Of course, they didn't want to participate in the story. You trying to make them look bad. They only solving crime by a rate of 4%. What are you talking about? So yeah, that was it for our topics for tonight, you guys. You want to stay tuned. Tomorrow I'm going to go live probably in the midday. I'm going to try to do 30 days of live videos since it's September the 1st. Let's try to see if that works out for me. And you guys, thank you for tuning in. You want to like, share, and subscribe to this channel. And I am sending all my good to you. You have a nice evening. Talk to you soon.